Thank you so much for joining us to watch this episode of the Ugandan podcast, brought to you by the Ministry of ICT in collaboration with MultiChoice Uganda. I'm your host, Anne-Marie, and today we're discussing stopping the steal, the fight against piracy in Uganda's creative industry. Now, when we hear piracy, we're thinking either those people on the water in the giant ships or maybe stealing a song online, but it is so much more robust than that. So to join me in this conversation, we have three people that exist in the industry in terms of regulation and protection, in terms of existing and broadcasting. Thank you so much for joining me, gentlemen. First, right here, I have Matthew Nabwiso, the executive producer of Nabwiso Films. I know you have watched at least 1, 2, or 15 of his productions. And on the regulatory perspective, we have Dr. Abudu Sallam Waiswa, the head of litigation, prosecution, and legal advisory at the Uganda Communications Commission, and Rinaldi Jamugisa, who is the PR manager at MultiChoice Uganda. Again, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you for having us here.
Now, let's start by defining what it is that we're talking about, then we can get into it. So I'll ask you, Dr. Waiswa, in layman's terms, what is piracy and how is it affecting not just the creative industry, but Uganda's economy as well?
Thank you very much. Good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen watching us. Good afternoon if you are out of the time zone we are in. We are happy to be on this podcast. Piracy is a very broad word that summarizes any action, any behavior through which somebody accesses another person's creative work and uses it for their own benefit without the owner's permission. So you can call it many names, but if you do anything that in the end results into you being able to access another person's work, that is creative work, that is copyrighted, and you use it for your own benefit without that other person's permission, that falls within the broad definition of piracy.
Okay.
So when we talk about works, somebody might wonder, what are works? Works are broad.
Right.
Could be a song written by somebody, could be a movie, could be a film, could be a skit, could be a football show, could be a sports event, could be a podcast like this.
Okay.
The organizers are put together, all of us and the resources to create this podcast. So in it, there is going to be value.
Yes.
That value goes to the person who has authored the podcast. So if you publish your movie, if you write your song, if you write a book under the law, in 2006, the Parliament of Uganda passed a law called the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act.
Yes.
That law provides for many, many things about ownership in copyrights.
Okay.
And it basically gives rights to any person who creates an original work and makes it available to the public. Works include songs, like I've already mentioned, movies, books, sports shows, football, anything where you've done some bit of creativity to produce and make it available to the public, that is a work. So anything that you do that interferes with the right of the owner of that work could amount to what is called piracy. This could be you outrightly pick somebody's song and you play it without their permission. That is piracy. You could use software to encrypt and decrypt somebody's protected works and access them. Somebody could have their songs, their movies, their books on a computer with a password. If you use some smart computer technology or software and you manage to decrypt this person's password and you download this person's movies, songs, and you access them without their permission, that is piracy. Piracy could also involve, for example, using an IP address. You have data, many of us have data on our phones, but then you are able to use a website that is broadcasting, for example, a TV channel that is paid for, but you manage to access it through the back door and you make it available on your phone for free.
Right.
It could even be you are in the UK watching Premier League with your smartphone, and out of excitement, you use your phone camera. You show on the you capture the game, and you are relaying it to say on Facebook Live or on your YouTube channel. That is piracy.
Oh, wow.
Because that game is protected. It's a work by the Premier League in England.
Yes.
For you to access it and broadcast it to the public, you must have access to rights from Premier League. So piracy, in summary, is all that and more that result into somebody illegitimately and illegally accessing another person's copyrighted work.
By that definition, so much of us are guilty of that.
Many people are innocently guilty of piracy.
Yes.
And most people, unfortunately, don't look at it as a big problem because they feel like, I'm just watching a movie.
Yes.
I mean, this movie is expensive in the cinema. In the cinema, I have to pay maybe 30,000 to watch it. If I'm running a TV and I'm looking for my viewers to get something new, if I can go and copy that CD, that movie from somewhere, put it on a CD, play it on my TV for my people in, let me say, Western Uganda or Eastern Uganda, they will be very happy. That is piracy, because by you playing that movie on your TV without the permission of the owner of that movie, you are denying them chance to commercially exploit their work. Because we all create works to make money. When my brother Nabwiso goes to a studio to produce a movie, he's not doing it because it's nice.
Passion.
Some people pretend that this is passion, but we all do these things to look for money. Because at the end of the day, when you go home, your children will ask for food. You won't tell them, I was very passionate yesterday. I came back sweating after doing a lot of passion. No. Passion doesn't bring food home. You need money.
You can't eat passion.
You can't eat passion. So most times, passion, you must turn your passion into some business. And so that's why people like him who are talented with acting, they go to the studios, think, write scripts, record, prepare themselves to act for the public. Now that is his creative work. He expects to get money out of that business. So if you go behind his back and you begin showing his movie without his permission, that is piracy, that is copyright infringement, and under the law, he can take you on, sue you, and get money from you, but also can cause you to go to Luzira for that offense, because it's both a civil wrong, but also a crime. So piracy is both a civil wrong. By civil wrong, we mean you can take this person to court, sue them, prove to a judge or a magistrate how much money you lost, and the judge can order that person to compensate you what you lost. And there are a number of cases where people have actually sued others and the courts have ordered them to be compensated. But also, you can report to police and this person can be arrested, can be prosecuted, and they'll be sentenced to prison for copyright infringement. In fact, under Section 46 of the Copyright Enabling Rights Act, it's, when you look at the definition of copyright infringement, it is so broad that anything you do to undermine the commercial value of somebody's copyrighted work is an offense. And if this person reports you and they fall through with evidence before court, you can be convicted and they can sentence you to up to 4 years in a prison just because of playing somebody's music without their permission, just because of copying somebody's song, and then you make it available. And it's no defense for you to say, I picked this from YouTube.
Yes.
Because some people say, but I just found this on YouTube, I downloaded it and used some software and I got the CD. That is not a defense. Merely because you found somebody's, I mean, if you find somebody's matoke on the street, do you just pick the matoke and go and eat?
Absolutely not.
You've stolen if you do that.
Yeah.
So even for music, for songs, just because you found somebody's movie online, you have no right to download it. Then we have a very common form of piracy these days, where people bring in devices. It's normally called device piracy, where you go to some country, you buy a device, you bring it in Uganda. Some of them use internet, and they have some smart software once they connect on the internet, they are able to unlock the encryptions that people like DSTV, StarTimes are put in their decoders.
Yes.
And using those softwares, these people are able now to unlock and watch all channels for free on their TV.
Yes.
Now, those devices are a big problem. And later on in the podcast, we'll be explaining to you what, as UCC, we are doing to ensure that such people do not continue with that. Because at the end of the day, there are so many negative effects of such activities. And to all our viewers, if you're one of those that has been watching TV, live football, using some of those devices, you need to begin thinking, because even you could soon be got for being an accomplice to a crime.
Yeah.
Actually, thank you for bringing up the devices, because that was going to be my first question to you, Rinaldi.
Yes.
We all saw the UCC release about the streaming devices that very many Ugandans didn't even know were illegal. People purchased them thinking, oh, this is just a cheap alternative to watch TV. And we didn't know that what we're doing is actually not just illegal, but morally wrong.
Yes.
So with regards to that, what does that do to a broadcaster like yourself who has invested as much as you have, and how does that affect the economy from your perspective as well?
Yeah, thank you. I think quite an important question. Where I'd like to start from is just picking off something he mentioned, which was trying to sort of break down what piracy is. For me, piracy in simple terms is theft. Simply put. And you use an example, actually, incidentally, that I like to use a lot whenever we are in awareness campaigns, to say theft is basically taking what doesn't belong to you.
Yes.
Simply put, without us, putting in a lot of terminology. Yeah, so what happens then is that people actually now use these devices and access content that they are getting from a wrong source. What does wrong source mean? So when you get some of these devices that you find on the market, all sorts of brands and names, is that these guys have found ways to have our content as well as those of other broadcasters across the globe onto their devices. The reason they are cheaper is because they are not going through the right channels to acquire the content.
Right.
So where it will cost you 10 times more, for them it's just a simple way of them finding a way to have the content and then pushing it through their devices. So they'll definitely make it cheaper. But for you, buying live content, fast run content, you're getting things like, say, football that is live in the moment, as it's happening in the UK, it's also happening here. As it's happening in Brazil, it's also here, and the like. So for us, that comes at a very huge cost.
Understandably.
Now, you have paid that. Somebody is now picking from your side in a certain way,
Yes.
and they are now pushing it. So they've not taken in the initial cost. So what they are doing now is that they are selling to somebody else. So the example I like to also give is, think about how people snatch phones in traffic. You bought your phone, it's 1 million shillings, 2 million shillings, 700,000, whichever the case. A guy snatches it. If I was to ask any one of us randomly here, how much do you think such a person is going to sell it on the street? You bought it 1 million shillings, he's going to say, guys, 200K.
To just offload it.
Exactly. So look at you as the owner of the phone that purchased it at 1 million shillings as an example. That cost you went through. So the person who has stolen is selling it at 200,000. So when somebody is paying subscription of 50,000, 60,000, is similar to the person who's selling a phone they've stolen at 200K.
Right.
Does that make sense? So you've gone through the hurdles, the hoops to acquire all this content, as expensive as it is, but somebody else who has stolen has the leeway to sell it cheaply.
Price.
And so at the end of the day, someone will say, but I bought, you're selling, well, for Yunga, that phone you're selling it at 800K. But, 3 years ago, I bought something similar to 200,000. Why? So for the everyday person, it doesn't quite make sense because we've got it somewhere cheaper before. But for you, why are you selling at this price? So I think for us also is for our subscribers, viewers to understand that pricing doesn't just come out of nowhere. There's an actual structure in as far as how pricing is done.
Right.
That puts into, context all these costs, including those of acquiring the content and also delivering it. Yeah, so in terms of impact from a financial perspective, I mean, the International Chamber of Commerce in about, I think, 2020, put East Africa's losses to piracy at 110 billion.
Of which currency?
USD.
My goodness.
Yeah. And similar numbers come from the, World Intellectual Property Organization and the African Union that actually speak to the fact that piracy is a problem.
Yes.
URSB as well, I think in 2018 also had a report that says Uganda specifically loses about $110 million, of which about 25 point maybe 3 million is actually what. So yeah, 253 million is what Uganda government loses to it. So as we are saying, we need certain services to be provided. We are part of the system that delivers this. To bring it home, and this one I think I speak more to a person, a filmmaker like Nabwiso, is that what people fail to see is that piracy in itself is in its being theft is detrimental to a creator.
Yes.
The question probably there would be how. Now, the way a lady wakes up in the morning or a gentleman and he's in the market and has his vegetables, matoke, for example, when somebody comes and takes away that matoke, 2 bunches, 3 bunches, and takes it away, if this person had 10, they now only have 7. And therefore, 3 bunches have made them lose money. That's the same thing for them.
Yes.
That what that bunch of matoke is to the market person is exactly what film is
to
creatives. So when you steal from them, you're taking away their livelihood. And so what piracy does is that it takes away the ability of Nabwiso and the rest of the filmmakers, content creators, the ability to do things like pay tuition for their children. They're human. They have children. They want to go to school. They have to get an education. Yes. It takes away the ability for them to actually be able to afford decent medical care because they need money to do that. So when you're stealing their content and yet they've invested in it, it means they actually cannot have that. So when they have children sick at home, even they themselves or family, they can't support. Why? Because they've not made the money from their creative works. They have to pay rent. We've heard of guys actually losing their homes to not being able to pay rent simply because they invested in a film, expected to get out, and were not able to actually recoup their investment, which also comes down to broadcasters, across the globe, filmmakers across the globe, is that then people wonder, should we invest or not? Because every time I invest, I lose. Every time I invest, I lose. So if I spent, just as an example, 100 million Uganda shillings to put it in just one single 1.5 hour film, yeah, and I only am able to find 7 million back, is it worth it? Why am I losing a whole 97 million? Or rather 93 million. So it's all those nuances that people sort of are not alive to simply because the context of how it comes to be in terms of what costs are taken, the time taken, etc., is not known to them. Lastly, and just as a final addition to this, is that for a filmmaker, and I think now we shall probably break it down even further, a film set, we are in this room shooting today. We have about 8 people who are not seated here with us. Right? 10 people who are not at the podcast. So it's very easy to see that the film has 9 people throughout the 1.5 hours or 15 people. But behind the set, you probably have another like 40. What are these people doing? Catering, transportation, location management, wardrobe, makeup, lighting, camera work, sound. All those are jobs created because of film. So when you steal from film, you're stealing the opportunities for all these people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that overview. It does put things into perspective. So the next time before someone tries to acquire that device, they'll be like, you know what, I'm robbing an entire industry of their livelihood.
100%.
And let me speak to the individuals whose livelihood is being penalized by this. You mentioned $110 million by the URSB that's being lost in Uganda. And 25 of that is for the government. So 85 of that is between the broadcasters and the creatives. So 85 million is being stolen from you, as if being a creative isn't hard enough. What is an individual's perspective when it comes to the challenges of piracy?
It's really a huge challenge. Making film is very expensive and very hard and very risky. But some of us have actually taken the leap to say, let's do this with our fellow creatives and try to create stories that are going to entertain people and also make a living out of it. So, of course, when somebody wakes up and just steals that away from you, it makes our work even harder. Because I've been on projects where you can be filming and you actually run out of funds. And then you need to continue with this project, but you have crew, you have actors that need to be paid. One is having issues with rent, the other is having issues with a son who has not gone back to school, and so on and so forth. And then you're unable to pay them. Or even when you're able to pay them, you're not able to pay them enough just because somebody is taking away a huge chunk of what should be going to them. So it is a very serious issue.
Yes.
And that needs to be addressed. My colleague here was very, very articulate talking about what piracy is. And of course, clearly he understands what it is. My question though would be, so what are you doing about some of these things? Because we have today platforms we are competing with, like MunoWatch, which are licensed by either you or URSB. I'm not so sure who has licensed them. What are you doing about such platforms? Because they're directly competing with us. As I'm trying to put Sanyo out there for every Ugandan to watch, MunoWatch has 1,000 American films that they are pirated, and we are aware. I believe you're also aware. What steps are you taking to make sure you address such things, and on top of other broadcasting stations that are actually doing the same? It is something that I would want to know for me and my people as a representative of the Producers Guild.
Actually, yes, we had.
Should I take it?
Yeah, that was going to be your next question, because prior to this, we had a bit of a conversation, and I was asking exactly the same thing, because we're aware that piracy is a problem and it's robbing all of this, and the UCC is actively combating this. But from an individual's perspective, from a creator's perspective, and even from maybe a broadcaster's perspective, we might not know what exactly it is that you're doing, and even the ways that we can work with you to help us. So yes, like he said, what are the ways that you're combating piracy, and how do we as creatives and broadcasters feed into your efforts as well?
Thank you very much for the question. Like my brother has explained, piracy is like theft. It's a crime like all other crimes.
Yes.
So we know that the government has many institutions that are there to fight criminality, but crimes still continue. By nature, human beings have tendencies of criminality. In fact, Aristotle says men, including women, are by nature animalic. They are law offenders.
Rule breakers.
We are rule breakers. What restrains us and keeps us in check is the fear that the law will catch us.
Yes.
And there will be repercussions. So even for piracy, there are many laws, many rules that have been set against this. And as UCC, we implement some of the laws, not all of them.
Right.
But as you know, as a government body, ideally, all what we do is supposed to be derived from the law that establishes Uganda Communications Commission. So maybe not everything about piracy falls within the strict mandate of the Uganda Communications Commission. But to the extent as provided for within the law, one, every person that is licensed by UCC, the license agreements we give them, we tell them, commit that whatever content you're going to air on your platform, it must be in compliance with all other laws. That is specified in all the licenses that we give. So every TV, every radio, every online platform, even the film distributors license that we give, we commit them to that obligation.
Right.
And indeed, I've challenged creative actors in the creative industry that if you see any licensed platform that is airing your content without your permission, please come to UCC and let us know. Because every year we receive reports from these broadcasters, and they produce receipts and evidence that whatever content they're going to air and have aired in the previous year is indeed legitimate. They've gotten licenses. So people produce receipts from UPRS, showing that they have subscribed and paid money to UPRS to access songs. We have the one for the film sector, Uganda Film Federation. There's another one that collecting society for the film sector. UFMI. They also give certificates or licenses to broadcasters, permitting them to access films of their members. But as you also know, an owner of a creative work, like Mr. Nabwiso, is also allowed in his own right to give a license or permission to somebody.
Yes.
So he can, for example, go to any TV in Uganda and say, for reason ABCD, please play all my music, play all my films. I've given you permission. So we allow all those. Now, there is a platform we mentioned I've never heard of. Monayu something. Monowacha, I've never heard about it. And that's why all of us, we have a duty to fight this vice. If you see anybody breaking the law, you should report it to police.
Right.
Because police may not be there all the time. Now, at UCC, overseeing the film sector is just one of the many functions that we do. So I can't tell you this without any fear of contradiction. We are not in every corner to look at every movie, every song that is going online. No, we don't do that. We don't have the capacity, the manpower, but also the structure of our institution cannot allow us to watch all the millions of online platforms out there.
Yes.
What we've tried to do is to tell the public no, and the owners of the works aware that if you see anybody playing your music, your movies, without your permission, please come to us and report. Then once you report, we are able now to become specific in our investigations to task that person to prove that, one, they have the permission to do what they are doing. They have the permission to play the songs or the movies that they are showing on their platform. We find many TVs in Uganda, for example, airing movies from foreign jurisdictions without permission of the owners of the movies. We find a number of TVs. We've even issued the notices of revocation of license to some of them. We've had several engagements with the sector on this issue many times. We've also even had some investigations about 5 years ago. I remember I even prosecuted myself. Some like 3-4 boys around at Uganda Road because they were pirating people's movies, and the owners of the movies came to UCC, reported, we investigated the matter, and we were able to charge these boys in court at Uganda Road. I remember they were sentenced. So one of them was an Indian guy, one of them was Chinese. They were sentenced to court. But for us to achieve this, we must work with the industry. So the movie, we may never know, for example, as UCC, that a movie that is airing on a TV in Uganda that was acted by Mr. Nabwiso, he never gave them permission. If he doesn't make an alarm and complain to UCC, we will assume he gave them the permission. So the primary duty is on the owners of the works. If you see anybody pirating your song, your music, your works, please report either to UCC, you can go to police, you can go to URSB, because under the Copyright and Enabling Rights Act, URSB is the primary lead agency of government of Uganda for the implementation of that law. So UCC will come in mostly from the angle of communication and broadcasting. And so for us, we'll approach it from the angle of your broadcasting content that is prohibited under the law, the Copyright and Enabling Rights Act. So if it's a broadcaster, we invite you to come to UCC and report anybody pirating your content on their radio, on TV, or on licensed online platforms. If it's somebody doing it out there in a club, then you may consider going to URSB, because that is their primary role and duty under the law. But also, you can sue. Suing, you don't need permission from anybody. As a person who has made a movie, produced it, or a song, you can go to court and sue a TV station, sue a radio station for airing your music or your song or movie without your permission. Some people have done it. Recently, Bruno K won a case against one of the music labels in this country, at an international music label, because they had played his songs without his permission, and he was given, I think, about 100 million. Conscience came all the way from Jamaica and sued one of the telecom companies in this country and was awarded $180,000 US. Why?
Wow.
Because they picked his music and put it in callbacks. And he was able to come to Uganda, used our systems, and he won a case against a telecom company in this country. But many times I've challenged the musicians, the artists, the people in the creative industry in Uganda. How come you are not suing these people?
I think
Or you are
let
not
me
reporting?
just to add to that, most of the pirates here that we are fighting with, for instance, as a film industry, will stay away from my films. So because they know the repercussions. But the challenge we have is that the industry we are in, our people will consume whatever is given to them. So if they can't consume mine, they'll consume whatever else is there. You see, that's what platforms like Muno Watch is doing. If I touch Nabwiso's content, he will sue me. But I have 1,000 films from Hollywood without license that. And now you see, as we go on trying to say, promote Boo Boo, do all this and that, you see, we are being sidelined at the end of the day. Much as we have very good content in terms of quality, in terms of what, Rinaldi can be witness to that, they will say, okay, we will not touch your content. We are going to do something else. Now, we are fighting for the same audience, which is now consuming foreign content, which is unlicensed. So what we are saying, can we have that engagement maybe between you as UCC, between URSB? Because many times when we are trying to see you people, you're so busy doing whatever it is that has nothing to do with us. But we would like to have this engagement. We can be able to share information.
Yeah.
Who are these people? And then together, how do we make sure we combat this? Because the small audience we are fighting for has been given another option. Like you were saying, this guy stole a phone and is selling it at 200K, and I'm bringing mine for 1 million. The customer will not buy my 1 million phone when there is one for 200K. So we need to fight the thieves so that everything is standardized. If a phone is at 1 million, it's at 1 million. We all buy. Everybody. Let's compete at that level.
So maybe if I could just chip in there a bit. So I think for me, it's a thing of maybe how do we learn from other jurisdictions?
Yes.
How do we work around things like collaborative efforts? So I'll give an example of us, from a multi-choice perspective, is that we've been very intentional about engaging with UCC. And I think I do know also that on your side, I've definitely had, there've been, engagements where you're saying, okay, we are trying to reach out and all these things. How can the filmmakers from let me call it a unified point of view? Because when you have one, sometimes the message might not sit. How do you work together through a collaborative effort? Because I'll give you an example. So, and this one, that when Sanyu came out, I think, was it 2018, 19?
2020.
2020. When Sanyu came out in 2020.
2021, that's when it came out.
Okay, yeah, okay, the shooting happened before, yes. So 2021 when Sanyu came out. Of course, it was, just slightly post-COVID. People are at home, people are looking for money, but many people started pirating as well. They started sitting on their TVs with a camera or with a phone, and they actually record your entire episode of Sanyu off of, Pearl Magic. Now, what they were doing is they get it from there, drop it on TikTok, get it from there, drop it on YouTube. They have channels that have some numbers, so actually earn from the views. So basically, they are pirating, they are stealing. But now on our side, we had to also take steps ahead to say, okay, from our anti-piracy arm of the business, Edeto, how do we work around engagements directly with, YouTube, with TikTok? And so a lot of these people, one, are losing their accounts, because even when we launched shows like Kampala Cream, JDC, a lot of the shows that we have are local shows here. Even where we sit is that people are getting their phones, getting all this, and basically recording a show as it's happening, all 25 minutes or 26 minutes of an episode per day, and then they come and load one by one, part 1, part 2, part 3, So what we're doing is that we're engaging at that level to say, what, TikTok is now starting to block these accounts. YouTube is striking the guys, is also blocking their accounts. So for me, is that there are actions we are taking to make it work on our side. As we speak, the current devices actually are not functional. None of our channels currently are running on that because there's work that has gone in the background. We actually have a full anti-piracy arm of the business called Ideto that is actively working through, fighting piracy. Now, from a Uganda perspective, a filmmaker's perspective, how do we have us work together as filmmakers to say, this is our standpoint, this is where we are, these are our issues. So if you have all those sites, all those portals, all those accounts that at least you're aware of are doing these things, I think those submissions need to be done in such a way that there is continuous engagement.
Right.
I mean, we are at UCC very frequently around these conversations with Uganda Registration Services Bureau about the same thing, and on our side, we've received support because, again, at the end of the day, and I think he'll speak into it probably as part of the conversation, how does somebody get the rights to even broadcast locally here? What are the processes? So we are not even saying people shouldn't broadcast. No, they should, but using the right channels. So if it is that you're going to show a super sport match, or let me say Premier League match, all right, get the actual rights for that and do it, right? In consideration of whatever rights that then Premier League can be able to give you. But if you're broadcasting it or you're showing it on your platform and you've not gotten the actual rights for it, show a Hollywood movie if you must, but do you have the actual rights? So we're not saying people shouldn't, no, but can you do it through the right channel? So back to the Ugandan spaces, how do we have those conversations? Like now, as we've seen it has worked on our side. We've engaged, they've been very supportive. So because if you go as Nabwiso, or 3-4 people, how do we have the 35, the 25, the 60 actually sit collectively and say, UCC, please come. URSB, please come. We are meeting at this location. Or can we come to you? This is the evidence of what's going on. And then I think he mentioned something quite interesting, reporting to the police, because that's something that we do. You have to go file a case so that by the time you have your range of evidence, you have all your facts put together, there's a way to proceed. And I think for me, that's sort of the collective way it can happen. When it's small pockets here and there, I feel like the efficacy might not be as good.
And this was something that we actually spoke of in a separate conversation. A lot of people in different industries tend to operate in silos. So Nabwiso will operate as Nabwiso Films, and his struggles will be his struggles. And now he's fighting with, pardon me, Munowatch. And you're competing, like you said, with all these international shows, and you feel like you can't hold your own.
And yet his cause is industry
exactly
level. It's
he's not the only
him and
person who's
others,
being impacted.
yes.
So before I come to see how people can feed into protecting themselves as well, thank you so much for your suggestion. I also want to ask, as a broadcaster, you know what to do. You are interfacing with the creatives, but are you also working towards educating the public about the dangers of piracy, the harm that they're doing when they pirate, and for the people who are being affected by it, the ways that they'll go about it? Because here you're telling us on the Ugandan podcast, now everyone who's watched this episode knows better, but as MultiChoice, are there any other initiatives to let the public know about the dangers of piracy and how to circumnavigate
So there have
them?
been different initiatives. Year on year, we have anti-piracy campaigns that we run. Anybody who's on our platforms will definitely see some videos that are speaking to piracy directly and sort of helping people understand. So for the universe of our different subscribers across Africa, they definitely see those ads. Here in Uganda, definitely you will see it every time we have all this content running. Every so often there'll be an ad that speaks into piracy. Now, locally here in Uganda, we've done quite a number of articles. We've been part of a number of engagements that URSB has organized. Some we've organized ourselves. Whenever UCC has had engagements with filmmakers and we've been invited to be a part, or whatever engagements we have organized on our side as a MultiChoice, and we've had the platform for it, we've always used those opportunities to create awareness.
Right.
Now, the ads is one thing. The awareness opportunities are there. We've engaged with the media. I think even the time the letter, that you referenced earlier, came out last year, several media agencies reached out and said, explain this to us. And I had the opportunity to sit, one-on-ones, email responses to guys. And those articles actually came out to create that awareness. We've been on radio stations to do interviews, TV stations to do interviews. And some of the things that we say whenever we're having these conversations is that there's a part of piracy people don't know, which is the personal effect. Now, the way piracy operations work is that they are conduits for criminals, people who are into human trafficking, organ trafficking, child trafficking, terrorism, and people do not know. So when you go and subscribe to a website, you do not know the owner. The beauty of platforms like ours is that this is where their offices are. We see their people, in the news and everything. We have events. They are around for some of these events. So there's a place to go to. We have somebody to hold accountable. We have a regulator, but a lot of these sites people do not know them. So you enter there, subscribe, put your name, put your email address, put your phone numbers, put your your home location. Many times people do this on their phones, and then what does it do? It asks you accept cookies. You accept all cookies. It asks you to do things like accepting access to microphone, access to messages, access to your gallery, and people are easily just clicking access because also the structure is that these sites also want that access. You can almost be so guaranteed that a good percentage, and maybe I don't know if you'd have them, but a good percentage of people do not remember their mobile money pins. They don't remember their bank account numbers. They don't remember their passwords. So they are going to save them as contacts. They're going to save them as screenshots. So if somebody on that site actually has that access, they are going to be able to, mine into your content, into your phone, and that's when you see people seeing money going off their accounts. They are quarreling with UCC. They are quarreling with Uganda police. They are quarreling with their banks. But you just gave somebody access, so they are stealing from you. That's on the one side. The other side is you've put your credit card information into the site. On the outlook of it, there are numbers that will be blocked when you're looking. But on the back end, the guy has your full credit card details, and he's going to feed it somewhere, and they'll be chipping off 10,000, 3,000, 9,000. But over a year, you will have lost like 1 million shillings unknowingly. It looks like small money. Say, those are bank charges, and you move on, but they are stealing from you. When you pay that site, even if it's $10 or 30,000 for that monthly thing, when you actually do not know who the owner is, that money is going to actually push terrorism. So you'll be there one day, Interpol will come for you, and you can't even explain why you're being put behind the bars.
Why have you been funding human trafficking in the Middle East?
And you're like, but nzenga sibamanyi. That's true. But the fact is, you have funded them. They are just using that piracy site as a way to hide their illegal operations on that front.
We had no idea was that there.
And in addition to that, consumer protection. Many times when you subscribe for a service as a consumer, you'll be paying for something.
Right.
You expect content to be available, the network to be stable. You also expect that the content you're going to receive meets the standards of your country.
Yes.
Now, when you subscribe to some of these pirated websites and you receive movies from there, no one is protecting you. If you pay today and tomorrow the network is off, you have nowhere to go. Right. You have no person to call. You have no office to go to.
Which is actually the case currently.
I mean, people bought them. Now they have the devices. We told them these devices are illegal. Don't buy them. They said we are being naive. They bought. Now they are stuck with the devices. They can't access services. Many of them are now even coming to UCC complaining, saying, oh, we want a refund of the money. But we told them that what you're getting into was illegal. You're on your own. Then two, there is content that is out there that we know is not good for everybody. When we give licenses to people like MultiChoice, we subject them to certain standards that, for example, do not air certain movies during particular times. For example, this one I cannot hide. It's known that in Uganda, we have a law against pornography, against homosexuality. We also have a law on pornography. So even when we know that somebody has the right to do whatever they want to do in their bedroom, we don't expect what they do in the bedroom to be on TV at a time when children are supposed to be watching TV.
Or at all.
Or really? At all. Even when we know that in some countries it is okay for a man to love a man. In Uganda, for who we are, we've said no. So no TV in Uganda will air a movie where people are promoting or celebrating a marriage, a union between a man and a man, or a woman and a woman. That won't happen. It will be illegal. But if you subscribe to some of these platforms that are not anywhere in Uganda and not subject to our direct regulatory control, then we can't give you guarantee that they won't show those movies. Now, these are the channels you're leaving your children during holidays. They're watching. They're being groomed. They're being told that it is okay for you to say, I love you to a woman, a fellow woman. It's okay for you to say, man, this man is handsome, he's beautiful. It's okay. That's why you see our children misbehaving in ways that many of us don't understand. They are picking all this from these online platforms. And yes, as regulators, we have a duty to protect you. But there is a limit. Many of these things are happening in your houses, online. We have systems to monitor what is happening, but not everything is being seen. Because again, there is privacy.
Right.
So because of that, we expect the consumers to be vigilant, to trust that if this is not certified by the regulator, maybe it's not safe for us. And that's why, for example, when MultiChoice is advertising, they close that advert by saying, this is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. Yes. That is a warning to you, the audience, know this company, the service they're offering, it is regulated and protected. If there is any problem with it, I know where to go. The question is, where will you find this person that you paid to that amount of money before you bought that device? So I know people, we are all looking for something cheap, but many times cheap is expensive.
Yes.
Let's be careful and do the right thing.
Now, Matthew, I wanted to ask you, there's a comment that you made earlier when you were complaining about this platform, that they know better than to touch Nabwiso Film Productions. What are some of the ways that you have managed to protect yourself to a point where even an international platform knows not to mess with you? How have you protected yourself against piracy?
First and foremost, of course, piracy locally started with people making DVDs. Because once you sell a DVD at, even if it's at 100,000, someone can go and duplicate that. So as Nabwiso Films, we've stayed away from putting our content on platforms that are easily duplicatable. So that's why you'll find our content either on DSTV or Showmax or things like. So it has not been very accessible. But also these people know that if you are here, they know who actually has the knowledge to know that they can actually sue. So they will stay away. And then they will take advantage of those who they believe they have no capacity to do anything. And also, to add to what Rinaldi said, that we should come and voice as bodies. That's what we are doing today. If I'm here as Matthew Nabwiso, I'm not here just as a director of Nabwiso Films. I actually represent the National Producers Guild of Uganda. And if I am speaking, there are 1,000 producers behind me.
Yes.
So like I was saying, if we get audience, being very intentional asking for this audience, we would like to engage with you and see how best we can work together to fight this. Because I know you, as UCC, you've engaged us on several accounts to do with the film festival, to do with trainings, which we really, really appreciate. But we feel like you've shied away from this particular subject of piracy. And then it's because we've not gotten that audience as a body. That's why you find that even at film festivals, any filmmaker who goes to pick an accolade says, "Neba nange, you see mutuyambeko piracy," because they're like, if I don't say it here, it's never going to be addressed. So we are asking for audience. Let's tackle this because we know the people. And we want to work with you as government to see how best we can. We are not trying to say, let's go and arrest all these people, but we can actually bring them to a round table and say, okay, guys, how do we work together going forward?
I think that's very much in order. For me, I hear you, and I want to encourage you that, one, many of our institutions, we meet so many stakeholders, and many times we operate on an open door policy. I would encourage you, for example, as the National Producers Guild, you can even write to the Executive Director of UCC saying these are the issues that are affecting us as an industry. We request for a meeting with you. Once that letter is received by the ED, he will certainly put aside a team that will be there to meet you, even when himself is not there. I want to tell you that as UCC, we are a very responsive agency. Most times we are dealing with so many things in the sector. Not everything we are dealing with maybe is known by everybody, because a lot of things happen behind the scenes. But I can assure you, we've had several discussions with URSB, for example, on how we can deal with piracy jointly. We've had discussions with the police. How can we, for example, deal with the hardcore criminals that are, for example, importing the pirating devices. We've had several discussions with this Uganda National Film, UFM, there are many associations in this sector. So we've had several discussions on how, for example, we can find a way of introducing a fee on the devices where people record these films and songs, that fee can be passed on to the musicians, to the artists. These conversations have happened. But unfortunately, the nature of the subject matter is not one that has a straight answer. It requires multiple discussions. It requires different approaches to arrive at a common objective. So what I want to encourage my brother Nabwiso and all other filmmakers out there, don't despair. You can trust that the government will listen to you. We can work together to see how can we deal with this. But also, I don't want you to assume that this problem is only unique to Uganda.
Yes.
Piracy is a global challenge. This same conversation we're having, regulators in other parts of Africa are going through the same issue. Not just Africa. Even in the developed countries, piracy is a problem. So because of this, we shouldn't feel like Uganda, we are not doing enough as a country. I want to tell you we are doing enough, but the problem is big because there are people whose work is to profit out of piracy.
Yes.
It is rewarding. They are making money out of it.
Just
So
like
because of that,
Vampire.
so we just have to be intentional, consistent, and ensure that we are indeed holding them accountable for all the mistakes they're doing.
Yeah, in fact, and I think where we are at is that digital piracy has posed one of the biggest problems, and this is because it lives online. It lives on a computer. It's software driven, internet driven, and the way technology is working lately, including with the different advancements we are now seeing with AI, where you tell it to write code to do for you what it needs to be done. You just need to double check is everything accurate, but the tactics are evolving by the minute.
Yes.
Meaning every single person who's affected needs to evolve with just as much speed or even more, so that you're sort of looking forward to what's the next big thing in tech that could affect me so that I protect myself beforehand. Because you don't wait to be hit and then try to be responsive or reactive. So tech has now shifted goalposts in as far as how do people protect themselves. And so ever so much now, more than ever, people or organizations or individuals, filmmakers, content creators, artists, writers for books, authors need to be in a place where we are constantly evolving as the tech evolves, or rather actually leading on the front so that the effect is not as much.
Well, I really appreciate this conversation. I feel like we've had an agreement to have a discussion and protect and work better together, maybe bring more attention to them, maybe more support to them. Thank you for the efforts that you're putting out. Thank you for the conversation. Now we know that these devices were not just a cheap way out, but were actually robbing people of their livelihoods. Thank you so much for this conversation. I really do appreciate it. But before I let you go, you are Ugandan first. Before you were Matthew Nabwiso of Nabwiso Films, before you were Dr. Waiswa of UCC, and before you were Rinaldi of MultiChoice, I want to know your musical tastes. Give me your top 2 Ugandan songs or Ugandan artists at the moment, if you have them. Let me start with the creative.
I think personally my top 2 would be Kenneth Mugabe and Elijah Kitaka.
I appreciate both those men. They are amazingly talented. Any songs in particular that are a preference?
Yeah, Kenneth Mugabe, Nkwe Gomba, Elijah's Echangechi baby.
Of course, the creative would have the most creative artists as well. Thank you. For you, Doctor, who is in your ears?
I love Ugandan music, a lot of it. But I think, no doubt, Chameleon is my best artist. I think I've listened to Chameleon's music all my years, and I love his music. I love his music. And the other one, you'll be surprised. I think I would choose Fred Sebata. I love
A classic.
Classic.
A classic.
Fred Sebata. I think he did a good job in setting the foundation for real music.
Yes.
Real music.
Kadongo Kamu is
Kadongo
the
Kamu,
blueprint of
real
Ugandan music.
yeah. So those, I think,
Yeah.
are my top artists.
I appreciate that. And Rinaldi, who is your person
So
or people?
the people are many. And the problem is when you know some of these people and you mention some names, it becomes a problem.
They're going to ask you,
Like,
what
so
about
now
my
that one is your
music?
favorite. But so I think one is, so this is a group, the Collective UG. Yeah, they've done, and for me, literally any song they've done stands out for me. Sam Chimera, I think, has also evolved in his music. If you asked me, Sandra Subi as well.
Yes.
He's made some great strides there,
Beautiful
like when she hits
voice.
all those high notes.
Yes.
Then there are, upcoming guys. I don't know, there's Wake, there's Bana Birunji. There's guys, some of them little known, but when you listen to them very specifically, you just start to, and for me, it's a mix and match, really, of the different genres. So, yeah, it's for as long as it's Ugandan,
It is in your
good.
ears.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I
well,
also agree with everybody on Elijah Chitaka as well as what is his no
Jose Chameleon.
no Kenneth Mugabe. There's also a good switch in how they are delivering music, and I think it has, and it's also good to see that this music is making its way in film.
Yes.
Very, very intentional. I think we've been using a lot of the
International
sound and
choices.
international tunes and all these other things. But now to see, some of our Ugandan shows on Palmagic Prime, we've had Sanyu there, we've had, a young lady called Afri who's been part of our MultiChoice Talent Factory. So we are seeing, more and more of this and many others across our sets, and most of this is also original music. So very, very happy to see that Uganda content creators are making their way through. So very,
And
very
knowing
happy.
all three of you probably accessed that music legally. You
100%.
paid for it, you paid
100%.
for the rights to have it add in your
100%.
film. So once again, thank you so much for opening our eyes to this topic. Thank you so much for the conversation. And thank you for watching. Hopefully, this will make you stop the steal. Piracy isn't just a cheap option, it's daylight robbery. This has been the Ugandan Podcast with Anne-Marie. Until next time, stay blessed.